issues that matter. You're watching King 5 News, Up Front with Robert Mack.
Welcome back. The Sonics and Storm have a lease at Key Arena through the year 2010. The new owners would have to pay the city rent and damages if they were to break the lease, but the language could be argued in court, and some lawmakers are already asking, what next? On Seattle's Queen Anne Hill, local businesses are nervous.
We're full on Sonic nights. That's when we make our money. The rest of the week, we're treading water.
I know it's dangerous to say this, but it probably won't be a huge financial hit.
Council President Nick Licata is laying out his plan. With our good economy, the bonds on Safeco and Quest Fields will likely be paid off early. So Licata wants to take those taxes and pay off the $54 million debt on Key Arena from the last Sonics remodel. Then, with some modest upgrading and expanded loading docks, the old Coliseum could host more concerts. But Licata envisions something more.
We'd be looking at film, looking at music, looking at electronic media, looking at games, the whole arena.
He's pitching a new kind of entertainment complex, a place to watch movies and local musicians, a place for companies like Real Networks and Microsoft to display new technologies and games, a hybrid of high-tech arts and culture.
I think we need to expand our imagination and start thinking about what could possibly be created here.
While some people are already planning for life without professional basketball, not everyone is ready to write off the Sonics. Joining us now, State Senator Margarita Prentice, Democrat and a big backer of the Sonics and Storm. Senator, the sports columnists, public opinion, city council members, they're all saying, okay, we'll do this dance with the new owners, but we're pretty much assured what's going to happen in 12 months or so. What do you think? Do you really believe that a group of investors from Oklahoma City are that interested in running a professional basketball team up here in the Pacific Northwest?
Yes, I'm sure that that's the case. I know that they like having the team that's from New Orleans, and they do intend to have both teams. New Orleans is obviously not going to be ready to take them back for quite a while, and they're serious, and I know they've been surprised at the kind of reaction, but I said that's the sort of Seattle, we're too cool to care attitude, and I think that's what has really just removed Seattle from the equation, and I think it really simplified things for those of us who really want to work to keep them.
But many people look at it and say, well, it's just a little bit coincidental that the Hornets are planning to go back home in about a year, and that's exactly how long that these new owners have given Seattle to come up with a deal.
Well, I think this kind of cynicism, remember, cynicism is really a protection against being disappointed. So I think this is just an attitude that some folks adopt, thinking, oh, well, we're going to wimp out and not even try. I know, I'm positive that they would like to stay in this region and have been completely shocked at this kind of reaction.
Let me ask you, Senator, Seattle's Mayor Greg Nichols did disclose the offers that he put on the table to the previous owners. And basically what he was saying is that if the Sonics want that full $200 million remodel, the team needs to pay about 25% of the cost, which is, not that far out of line with what the Mariners and the Seahawks got with their facilities. What did you think of that offer? Was that a fair offer from the mayor?
Well, I think it really doesn't matter now. Probably was, but they needed to sit down in the same room, and obviously that didn't happen. But they're out of the picture now. Let's not even continue talking about Seattle. They're gone, and I think we're looking at some communities that actually want them and want to take the steps necessary to keep them.
So you're actually saying you don't think it's going to happen in the city of Seattle with Key
I'm
Arena?
sure of it. Why would anyone want to continue with that kind of frustration? And I said I didn't blame the owners for finally giving up.
To move the team to the suburbs, isn't that, you'd have to build a brand new facility. Isn't that even more unlikely than trying to get a deal in Seattle with Key Arena?
No, Bob, it's not unlikely, because I know that they don't want to play in Key Arena. The suites are too small. There was simply the same kinds of problems exist. It's too bad that there was that kind of negativism, because I feel bad for the whole Seattle Center. The city is really going to lose out. But I think a new arena is what they need, and there are ways to cut that deal. It's a new deal and it's new thinking, but that's what we've needed all along. So that's why I'm glad that Seattle is just out of the equation. They're out of the picture, and now we can talk for real.
State Senator Margarita Prentice, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you joining us.
Sure, Bob. Bye-bye.
So, is it possible the teams might stay? We're joined by Democratic strategist Kathy Allen and Republican strategist Randy Pepple. Kathy, you just heard Senator Prentice that Seattle is too cynical. Should we give the owners the benefit of the doubt that they might stay?
I think that Senator Margarita Prentice is a little too naive. I think that what we're seeing right now are a lot of people, a lot of complications happening. Most people in Seattle didn't want to see the Sonics leave. I mean, frankly, we're sorry to see them leave. But the price for them staying was just way too much. And I think that not only just people of Seattle, but people of King County were looking at this and saying, we're not going to pay anymore. I think that we're going to see a lot more political haranguing going on in the upcoming legislative session. But I just don't think that we're going to see the will for it to stay. And frankly, just watching what the new buyers have said once they went to the cameras of Oklahoma as opposed to up here, I don't think that they're that interested in staying up here at all.
Randy, it does seem unlikely in a 12-month time frame that they can get a city on board, get the state legislature to authorize taxes, King County to put something on the ballot, and voters to approve it. But over in Bellevue, what developer Kemper Freeman is talking about is something that might be privately financed. I mean, is it feasible at all?
I think the private option is really the only one that's alive. I mean, the city of Seattle has taken themselves out of the game. They don't want to do it. That's fine. The other options then are in the suburbs. And I think Bellevue is further ahead than anywhere else. And I think you can't underestimate Kemper Freeman. If he gets his mind to it that it can happen, then you could take a package down to the state legislature that would provide for some off-ramp improvements from 405 and 520, perhaps mitigation payments, mitigation of sales tax payments on the construction, and it might start to pencil out to build a private arena over there.
So you're serious? You really think that that's a possibility?
I think it's a far greater possibility than a public option in the city of Seattle. I think that there's a good chance that the businessman who bought this team would be willing to sell it back to local ownership at an increased value, of course, if there's a private arena in place, and he'll then get back in line to get the next franchise for Oklahoma City, and the NBA will look to him and go, he was a good sport in Seattle, we'll take care of him. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. Peter Callahan, in a column earlier last week in the News Tribune, said much the same thing.
I think if you're looking at winners and losers in this game, I was surprised to see the mayor put the actual context of all the contracts that they've been negotiating on the table. I think that was a good move on the part of the mayor. I also got to say that other losers, though, include Storm. Those of us who really did like to go see the Seattle Storm, one of the only real affordable major league franchise games you could actually see. And I also think that the losers are the people for more important things and the Service Employees Union, both of which are still having a measure on this year's ballot to be able to say that they don't want any more future money for big stadiums going in from the city of Seattle.
But the winners on this one will be the private sector. If they can put it together and keep the Sonics in the region, I think it'll show the power of the business people to put that together.
I think it's wishing and hoping and thinking and praying. It'd be nice if they could stay and we wouldn't have to pay an awful lot of money for it. But frankly, I think that the days of going to the Sonics and the Storm may be long gone.
Kathy, leave it up to the private sector to solve this sometimes, not the public sector, and you don't have to be so depressed about it.
Randy Pepple, Kathy Allen, thank you both. When we come back, could a basketball team move up from Portland? Still ahead, what about Paul Allen and the Trailblazers? We'll ask Sports Director Paul Sylvie.